Hello there, and welcome to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast, where we'll have a little fun, lots of laughs, and discussions on the common sense that needs to be applied to a lot of today's world news issues. And now, the disclaimer. Stay Off My Lawn is not intended as legal, medical, or financial advice. Void where prohibited. No purchase necessary to win. Open to legal U.S. residents 18 or over in the contiguous 48 states. Any resemblance to anyone living or deceased is purely coincidental. Actual price may vary. Only use as directed. Not a member of FDIC. And now, here are your hosts, Mike and Richard.
All right, welcome to this week's episode of Stay Off My Lawn. It's September 22nd. I know it's a day early due to circumstances beyond our control. Sort of our control. It is a day early, and so we're just get over it. And this is episode number 134. And today on the show, we have with us a special guest. We've been teasing this for a couple of weeks. Candidate for U.S. Senate right here in my home state of beautiful Georgia. She's right down the street from me, too. Beautiful Northwest Georgia, Reagan Box. And we are so glad to have you with us. Good morning, Reagan.
Good morning. It's awesome to be here.
Yeah. So we had some. This is actually a do-over in all transparency. We had some technical difficulties on the first one. And it was, again, beyond our control. And I mean it this time. Anyway, did either one of you see the memorial service yesterday? Any parts of that?
I did
Just
watch
that
parts of it.
Erica gave forgiveness to her husband's killer. That's the one thing I've heard.
That was, to me, that's the mark of a true Christian, because that's a supernatural forgiveness. There's, I don't think as human beings we're built to do that kind of thing. So I mean that has to be the Holy Spirit working in her. And man, I just think that was really awesome. There were some really good speeches yesterday. I think Trump went on and on. He almost acted a little bit like a campaign speech, and parts of it is sort of like my wife and I just kind of shook our heads. But I mean, that's Trump. That's what he does. But a lot of good speeches. Tulsi Gabbard did a great job. J.D. Vance did a great job.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was such a tragedy. And we were talking before. That the whole thing that everybody's trying to correlate the cancel culture of Jimmy Kimmel with the whole thing with the government telling them to do things, telling them to cancel. And since when does ABC listen to anything the government says anyway? First of all, they don't seem to give a crap at all. But I mean, now they're saying, well, that's just as wrong as canceling Charlie Kirk. We didn't cancel Charlie Kirk; they killed him.
There's a difference.
I just don't
It's
see
a massive difference. But to me, and I've been running everything through my head since it happened, but there's something really wrong where you can celebrate someone getting assassinated like he did. There's something wrong with society and people's hearts. I mean, I didn't like Biden and his administration, but if he got assassinated, I wouldn't have celebrated.
Of course
I
not.
would have felt sorry for his family for having to witness that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we've really got to start searching our hearts and souls and saying, okay, is this what we want to emit into society? Because that's what's happening.
It's just so sad how that works, though. You're absolutely right. And we struggle not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities. So I mean, there are things going on behind the scenes, demonic things, obviously, not just the guy shooting, but these people celebrating. And by the way, if you're listening to this show and you celebrate it in any way, shape, or form, please unsubscribe. Go away. Let the trash take itself out and go away. We don't want you here. I don't think that you have a place here. And I think that if you got fired over that, I'm not sorry. Especially if you're a teacher, man. I saw lists of people that were teachers that were going on there going, the one Nazi down. I'm like, where in the world? They're repeating talking points.
Yeah.
We are a society now.
And I've watched footage after footage of him, like with gay and trans, and he's like, no, I love you as a human being, but I don't agree with your lifestyle. He was never mean about it. He would tell him he flat out loved him. And I'm like, how is this hate?
I totally agree. Oh yeah, even Dave Rubin, who's gay, and it's like he said him and Charlie got along great. Charlie invited him on one of his tours one year. So I mean, he's got no malice. Had no malice in his heart towards anybody. But I mean, when the transgender thing came up, and I think that's where, because this kid supposedly had this furry tranny boyfriend that he lived with, that kind of struck a chord with them. And but the thing is, the only thing he would say is that, look, I'm not going to participate in your delusions. I love people too much to lie, and I'm not going to lie. And I think that just those kind of convictions are very threatening to people that don't have those kind of convictions or don't understand logic or common sense.
Here's what the hard part I'm having with it. Look at how many transgender shootings we're having now. Is this a mental illness, or is this the hormones and blockers and stuff we're putting into them? I tend to lean as it's kind of a mixture of both, because and this statistic blew my mind Sunday when a guy on my team told me this, but 39% of people that undergo the transgender surgery commit suicide within a year of having surgery. 39%. That is, for 3% of the population, that is an amazing number.
Yes,
And so we've got to look at, and like I've been telling people for the last 2.5 years, we don't have a gun issue in our country. We have a mental health care crisis.
absolutely. And I don't know if you're old enough to remember this, but I know Richard and I are. I remember kids bringing shotguns in the back window of their truck to school. And I remember I think it was our accounting teacher would come out and go, if somebody got a new gun, they'd show them the gun in the parking lot of the school at lunchtime and say, hey, look, it's like nobody thought twice about it, and they'd leave the windows down. Nobody. It certainly is different. I mean, there's something terrible going on.
Well, you start taking God out of everything, and I think there's just something innate in the human soul that always searches for God or that higher power.
Yeah.
Um, you can see it in cave drawings, even them searching for that. And so I think there's a void in the human heart and soul that society can't replace. Like, we need God. We
Yeah.
need that structure. And I go back to our founding documents, even going back to the Magna Carta and the simple word self-governed. You
Mm.
can only be self-governed with the foundation and platform of morals and religion.
Yeah.
You can't be self-governed any other way. And I
But
think that's exactly why John Adams said, without morality and religion, our Constitution will be broken through as a well goes through the cords of a net. It's highly unsuited for any other type of people.
right. Oh, they don't like to hear that, though.
No.
Well, that's the first thing that the communist countries do is they attack the churches, and that because they have a foundation, they have a belief, and that puts them all together, and they don't want that. We want to be the supreme ruler, and it
And
doesn't work out well. It
if they
hasn't worked
do
out well for any country.
if they do
No,
allow
it
the
hasn't.
church, or like Great Britain had the Church of England, it was run by the government. So I mean, everything was controlled. And
You know?
I do think that I think you hit the nail on the head, though. It's like there's a hole Pastor Greg Laurie talks about this all the time. There's a hole in everybody's heart that they try to fill with other things, whether it's drugs or alcohol or pornography or whatever. It's like because everybody has this yearning for something, and you subtract God out of the equation and make it sound like it's a ridiculous concept, then what are people left to do? We are, and I wrote an article on Substack about this. It's like we are just the young people in America today are just so aimless. They don't really have a direction to go. When we were kids, everybody had a direction. We knew that we wanted to grow up and get married and have kids. And in order to have all that work out well, because that's what we were taught. My dad was a World War II veteran. It's like, you go to work, and if it means you got to get dirty. You got to get sweaty. You got to, you're going to have to work when everybody else is sleeping. That's just what you do, because if you want your family to survive and thrive, that's what you got to do. Because being the man of the family, that's the role of you. And sometimes it sucks, and sometimes that's just the way it goes. But I think they've subtracted all that and said, well, everything's so fluid now. It's so stupid. It's almost like we're living in a bizarre world.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel that with my background. I was trying to put it into words the other day. I was a cowgirl for, nearly 15 years working on big 40,000 acre ranches. And there's a simple truth and reality. Everything is black and white, yes or no, life or death.
Yep.
It is that simple. And it's hard walking into the world of politics where it's really not about truth. It's about smoke and mirrors, optics, and perception.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's really hard for me because it's like, no, it's really this simple.
You're right. I think most things are black and white. I've had family members ask me, "You see everything is black and white. What's wrong with you?" It's like, because most things are. There might be a few things that are gray. We've talked about that on the podcast before, but for the
Yeah.
most part, you know, look, if you're an adult and you want to chop your bits off, you do your thing, I mean, but don't dress up like a woman and read stories to kids. And it's like, all that is indoctrination. You're sending, by allowing that, we're sending the wrong message. And I think,
It's mental molestation of these kids. It's no different than if they were physically touching them. They're putting something in their brain that their brains aren't capable of handling yet.
right, right.
And it shouldn't be allowed. And it's nothing against their lifestyle. I mean, I wouldn't want a straight couple making out in front of the kids.
It's not,
So,
it's not.
it's just inappropriate. And if they're not ready to handle the repercussions of having sex, possible pregnancy or whatever,
Yeah.
then they shouldn't be having it. And that's a responsible thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, sex was never mentioned in school until I got to high school, and they had that, forgot what they called it. They had a cleansed word for it. It wasn't sex education. They called it something else. But that was the only time that was ever mentioned inside a classroom when I was in school, all the way through high school, except for that one class. So, I mean, and they talked about everything. They talked about the dangers of alcohol and dipping and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, there was a lot of stuff that was involved in that. But I mean, it when it comes to kids, sex shouldn't be even on the table to even bring up. I don't, straight sex, homosexual, I don't care what it is. You shouldn't be talking to my kid about sex. And with two granddaughters that I have very young, I mean, it's like, I worry for their future.
I mean, that was part of running for U.S. Senate again. I don't have kids myself, but I have a niece, two nephews, and this isn't the world I want for them.
Of course not.
And
You,
watching my friends' kids, it's really bothersome.
you talked about being a cowgirl. I know you've done a variety of things in your life. Hit on some of those things. Explain how you got here to run.
So after high school, I went to college for 5 years. I studied art and history in Paris, France, shark and sea turtle research in the Florida Keys. I did some modeling, mission work in Costa Rica, and then I decided to quit college because my major changed every single semester. I realized most things I liked in school you couldn't make a living at. So I quit college, moved out west, and learned how to break, train, and show cutting horses on a national level. I ended up being Women's Ranch Rodeo Reserve World Champion, U.S. Cutting Horse Reserve World Champion, and selling horses to like the producers of the Batman series for 200,000. I just did a little bit of everything, came back home in 2018, 2019, somewhere in there, and still trained horses. But COVID kind of put me on a different path. I didn't like seeing how people gave up their freedoms, rights, and liberties. So I'm sitting at home reading my Founder's Bible. In case you've never heard of it, it's an NSAB version of the Bible, but all throughout it has stories of our founding fathers and our history, so we know where we come from biblically.
I had not heard of that. That's
Oh, it's
interesting.
awesome. Best learning tool you'll ever get.
Mm.
It kind of hit me when our founding fathers signed the Declaration of Independence. They knew that they were signing their death warrants, and they were willing to fight and die, not for a country, but just the idea of something better. And so when God laid it on my heart to run, he's like, stand up with that same strength and conviction and say, come what may, just stand and fight, because we've gotten here because our leaders have been complacent. So when I decided to run for Senate, I did go back to school because I knew that they were going to say I'm an uneducated horse trainer. Took 18 hours of college credit a semester on top of working full time and running a statewide campaign, traveling the state 3 to 4 days a week. And I just graduated in December with a bachelor's in paralegal studies.
Wow, that's awesome. That's
So,
awesome. Well, but people are going to say that they hate us. The left hates us on the right, no matter what we do. Even if you're, like they probably had criticisms from Mother Teresa, and it's like you just don't have it. You can't do enough to make them praise you. So, I mean, that should be off the table anyway. I like that you're a working person. I like that you understand what it means to go to work every day and work hard and get dirty and do what you have to do in order to make a living. And that's how most of us have lived in the middle of this country. We've all understood and worked hard. I mean, I worked at the Budweiser plant 25 years. Most of that was on night shift, driving a forklift and running a filler. And it's like I did all these things. I had, caustic acid inside open cuts. It was a lot of fun. But I mean, um, those kind of things kind of like helped you become a good human. But I think that's where your advantage is. You didn't just come out of college and somebody knighted you as a senator or a politician.
no, I was reading one statistic the other day that the average American worker makes for $1,146 a week. And I was like, man, I got short shafted as a cowgirl. I made 1,300 a month.
Oh my
Now,
gosh.
granted, they gave me a house and paid my utilities, but still, I
Still
mean,
doesn't make up for it now.
oh,
Wow.
it's a great way of living, though. I wouldn't
Oh,
change it for the world. I
yeah.
wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah.
It's a whole life experience that most of America will never understand. I loved it.
No, I'm with you. My fondest working stuff was working beside my grandfather, learning things on the farm and doing stuff, and then looking at my grandsons that were the age that I finally was the last year that he did the haying, and going, was my grandfather a little leftist? What's wrong with him to put me on the seat of a tractor? Here, you drive it. I got things to do back here. Okay. But it's still fond memories of, and I heard two employers, it's funny, in just the last week saying that if I get somebody that's coming through the resumes and I see that they were a farm kid, I'm going to hire them above anybody else. They have the best qualifications of anybody I could hire.
It's critical thinking skills. You've got
Yep.
to figure out how to make everything happen, usually by yourself.
And with
And
what you have, it may not always be
yeah,
perfect, but you got to figure it out.
yeah. I mean, it's critical thinking, common sense at the simplest of forms, and you've just got to get the job done no matter what.
Yep.
And it's that mindset, I think, that sets you apart, and that's why I wanted to talk to you. And it's like, I think that we need people like you representing us in Congress, not these people that have kind of grown up in the whole political spectrum and almost every politician I've ever met. And it seems like I met one that was not like this, and I can't think of who it was off the top of my head. So it was very impactful on me, apparently. But most of them are just like this very very arrogant, look down on you, glad hand you for a second and move on. Because heck, if that during that handshaking 5 seconds, if you don't have money in that hand, it doesn't matter. Then you don't matter, and they just need to move on because
I give most people hugs. I don't do many handshakes. I think America needs hugs right now. But I mean, that's a lot of it. And it's really funny. People don't know how to take me when I have like hair and makeup done. I'm in my stilettos. I'm about 6'4" in a suit. And like I had one college kid come up Thursday and he was like, "You're very intimidating to walk up to, but once I started talking to you, it's like an old friend."
Yeah, when I first called you, I didn't know you were 6 foot, so I was not intimidated, but I am now. So, but I like that you're a surprise. I think that's and you have some really great stances on things that are not just surprising, but they're innovative. They're things, and maybe it comes from being a ranch hand and doing what you've done in your past. But I mean, as far as campaign finance and what were your ideas for that, and your whole campaign about anti-corruption, the lobbyists, the PAC money, all that kind of stuff that needs to really go away in this country. It's been eating at our core, at our heart for quite a while. Tell us a little bit about what your stances are for all that.
So me and my campaign We're not taking PAC money. We're not doing any of that. We're asking everyone to do a simple $10 a month reoccurring donation. You get 10,000 people to do that, and your politician's owned by you, not by special interest groups. You're not sold out on principle. You're standing in integrity. And I figure most everybody across America could do $10 a month.
Sure.
And it's a way of bringing our government, you owning a piece of what goes up to DC and making sure they're held accountable and doing right. Um, we all know all of that special interest PAC money, 90 something percent of the times comes with strings attached. It's not there to be fair.
Mm.
It's not there with good intentions. So we've got to really look at that as we, the people, and decide we're not going to let them do this anymore. We have made our elections primarily on money when we should have been looking at integrity and principle the whole time. And we've forgotten the power of the people by simply giving to people running like myself.
Yeah.
And we've got to take that more seriously.
I think people ought to have signs on their back sponsored by Pfizer.
Yeah.
But we're not. It's such a unique approach. I think that you've got because and we were talking about this before, that I've understood that when you first get to Congress, or the Senate, I would imagine it's the same way. But as soon as you get there, the leadership comes around and they say, if you want your campaign financed well for the next time around, you need to come to lunch with us, and we're going to lay out are you going to vote on things. And it's like, that to me, that just runs counter to everything that you think it should be. And it needs
They've been sold out on principles the last 30 or 40 years. Otherwise, our nation wouldn't be here. Something as simple as if either side truly cared, we wouldn't have a national debt of 37 trillion. Our rule of law wouldn't be so out of whack if they were inducing articles of impeachment and going after these judicial activist judges. That poor girl in North Carolina wouldn't have gotten her throat slit if they were taking their job seriously. I want to make judges accessories to the crimes of these thugs they release. I think that would stop a lot of it. I want to make sure people get a fair trial. Don't get me wrong, but how many times do you have to be released or the book not being thrown at you like you should before you realize we have a problem?
Yeah. 14 times by the time he's 28 years old, arrested and released. It just doesn't make any sense. And Richard, you were talking about the judge in question, the last judge.
Yeah. The one that had let him out. He had personally gone through her court several times and got let out every time was there, is not qualified. It's a DEI hire, has no law background at all, and they're just there going, well, let's see, I'm a judge now, so I kind of like the cut of your jib. Yeah, you're good to go. It was just another white, no, that stuff's got to stop.
Yeah. And we were talking earlier about Ketanji Brown Jackson, that she couldn't answer the question about what a woman is. It's like, but they still approved her to be on the Supreme Court. It's like,
Yeah.
How simple a question is that? You don't
But
have
that should have been the red flag that she's a judicial activist instead of following the law. And like I said earlier, our laws are derived from the law of nature and the God of nature.
Yeah.
That's what it says in our Declaration of Independence. That goes against both of them.
It seems like a lot of people in Washington, D.C. don't even read the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence and have no idea what's in it. And I remember seeing Ted Cruz interview a judicial nominee, and it was asking, what does Article 3 of the Constitution say? And they could not tell him. I mean, it's like, if you're a judge and you're going for even if it's a court of appeals or something, you should at least understand and know the Constitution. It's not that long, backwards and forwards. You should know that so well you could rattle off almost anything.
There's so much. I mean, look at it. Our own Congress doesn't even go by the Constitution at all. We have made no amendment to the Constitution to allow the petrodollar. But how long have we been under the petrodollar?
Well, quite a while, I would imagine.
Just a few decades
40,
is all.
Yeah.
40 something years, 50 years, somewhere in there.
Speaking of the dollar, and we hadn't talked about this before, but what do you think about the rising up of these BRICS nations and taking the U.S. dollar out of the world currency and kind of supplanting us from that position? Do you see that as a threat in the future? Or,
I see it as a massive threat, and it scares me. And I asked one of the Georgia U.S. House members about it 2 years ago, and he went, "Is that really happening?" I go, "Yeah." I went 109 countries at the time. I quit
yeah.
using the US dollar to trade in. He went, "Oh, that'd be bad." Didn't even know it was going on.
Oh my
But,
God.
it scares me because of the way we just printed out money. When there's no countries left to absorb all this money they printed out, we're going to have hyperinflation in the US like we've never seen before.
Right.
Like World War II, Germany pushing a wheelbarrow full of cash to go get a loaf of bread and some milk.
Yeah, remember Zimbabwe went through the same thing. It's like it was like a loaf of bread was like $3 million. It's like got to
Well,
be.
same thing in Venezuela. They've got they were showing pictures of a trash pile, bulldozers and stuff were going, and there was just their money just flying around in the wind because it wasn't worth the paper it was printed on. Literally that bad.
Start a fire.
It's horrible what they're doing, and no one's saying this has got to stop.
Yeah.
No one's being willing to be a voice of sanity in Congress. This yet again, this is part of why I'm running because
Yeah.
we've got to have someone that's strong enough to say, "Okay, I don't care what happens. I'm flipping tables and cracking whips. This is
Well,
ridiculous."
Well,
that's
and
what
the
happened.
people of New York, what is wrong with them? You're really going to have a socialist mayor? I mean, he's a communist through and through. That's the way that's what he's doing. So,
But this is my whole thought with this, and I've been saying it at Republican meetings, just listening to other people running. People are hurting. So they're looking for solutions. So the Democrats might be giving piss poor solutions, but they're still solutions. The
Yeah.
Republicans, especially with Trump in the White House, they're just beating their chest saying MAGA, 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 Trump, Trump, Trump. And we've got to come up with solutions to everything going wrong.
Yeah. Well,
I
the
think that's
inflation in New
why
York City.
Republicans are losing, and that's what incentivizes people to go towards Nadami.
I didn't even think of that, but you're right. At least he has something to for people to hang on to, something tangible.
Mhm.
Um, Even if it is terribly socialist, they just want the rent to go down.
they hear free and I don't know whether it's because it's uneducated or, well, anything that comes from the government's free. Where did that money come from? And it's just not, when you do have a job, well, there's this little box that so much gets sent and, yeah, it's not free.
Yeah.
So,
No.
I think free should be replaced with 100% taxpayer subsidized, and then it might kind of bring it
ooh,
home
I
for
like that
people.
idea.
Yeah.
Well, what I've been doing is breaking it down to people like the war on Ukraine. They paid 170 billion out. Divide that by the American population, that means each person had to pay $500 for that war.
Isn't this
When,
something?
when,
And it ain't
when
over
you
yet.
when you start breaking it down into what it's costing you as an individual, people are going, huh. Like their minds haven't been trained to think that way. So I'm trying to wake up people and get their eyes open. One of the things I've been addressing here lately is is there one person that doesn't know the cause and effects of drugs, alcohol, and tobacco? No, you can see it on any city street in America. So why is our government paying for millions in studies year after year after year
Yeah.
on drugs, alcohol, and tobacco, just rehashing the same information?
That's
It's
right.
a waste of our taxpayer dollars.
We know it's bad, just move
Yep.
on to something else. And supposedly there's going to be an announcement today about autism rates and maybe what the background of all that is and why we've seen it go from 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 15 or whatever it is now. It's incredible. But I mean, those are the kind of things that I don't mind our taxpayers going to find out why in the world these things are happening. Is it the vaccines? Is it the food dyes? Is it, I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know, but I mean, I want some egghead in a laboratory to figure it out. And and at least eliminate it from the diet because some of us have those grandkids and we don't want them exposed to all this stuff early.
Uh,
When we were kids, we didn't have all that stuff in our food. We didn't have all these vaccines. So it's something that's changed from there to now. And
I'd agree totally. I mean, you just look at childhood obesity even.
oh yeah,
And the kids of 20, 30 years ago are totally different than the kids now.
no doubt. If there was a fat kid in class, it was one. That was very, very
They
rare.
were
Now it's
known as the
the
fat
fat
kid,
kid.
and you
Yeah.
knew who they were talking about because they're I've been seeing, somebody's putting it on their flashbacks, whatever, to the 70s. Back when I was in high school, I'm telling you. But it's like, what do you notice in this picture? Yeah, everybody is healthy.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just, and not, you're looking at a beach thing, and it's not one little, you can, as far as you can see in the picture, everybody's in pretty good shape. So yeah, it's one of those, I'm all for the make America healthy again too. Let's get some of this stuff out. I've been reading a lot more labels, and the wife goes, here, what's this one say? She doesn't have her glasses with her.
Yeah.
So,
If you can't pronounce it, then chances are it's probably not good for you.
well, unfortunately, I could pronounce too many of them and go, yeah, we don't want that one.
Now, we brought up big pharma. What you have some ideas about big pharma and what we can do as a country to kind of eliminate their stronghold on all the advertising and everything's sponsored by Pfizer,
Mhm.
and it's like what would be your solution to that?
Oh, that is such a huge bag to unravel,
Oh,
but
I
there's
know.
several issues going
I'm in the
on with it.
spot here. Sorry.
We need to actually start trying to cure people instead of giving them a medicine that covers up their symptoms just because they can get a lifelong patient that way. I think we need to make it more of a free market system again. Get those little small town physicians back into play because they were actually curing people and doing more. It was a lot more cost effective. And we've got to quit subsidizing our medical to the rest of the world. I mean, you can get medicines for pennies on the dollar compared to in Canada and Mexico compared to the United States. So we've got to quit doing that. And I know just being involved with animals and livestock, as soon as they label something for human use only, they jack up the price thousands, if not millions of dollars. I found an MRI machine company, and they make them for both humans and horses. Both machines have the exact same specs and resolution, and they charge 1.2 million for the human machine and 100,000 for the horse machine.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Um, Crofab, the medicine you take if you get bit by a venomous snake. I know this because my dog got bit, and I think it was 2017 or 2018 by a rattlesnake. And you and my dog take the exact same medicine, exact same amount, and but they'll charge you 15,000 for it, and they charge me $500 for my dog. That's
Incredible.
ridiculous. Like, why are we allowing this as we the people? Like, we should be enraged that there's such a discrepancy. There's stuff like federal licensing. So our government has allowed one company to make pharmaceutical grade baking soda, and they can't keep up with the orders, so there's a shortage. Simple supply and demand means that they're going to jack up the
Of
price.
course.
We need to get more licenses out there to get this done. We've got to have people paying attention like me that will break it down into the simplest cause and effect and form so we truly do get those cheaper prices.
Well, I read a couple of years ago that 85% of all the drugs that we consume, whether it's prescription or even vitamins here in the US, is made either in India or China. So why in the world, I mean, is it that not cost effective to make our own drugs? Because look, if we ended up going to some kind of financial or physical war with China over anything, they they've got a lot of power. I mean, I hate to put ideas in anybody's head, but I mean those are very sensitive things that they have access to our bodies here
Well,
because we're the most prescription drug people on the planet here in America. I mean, they could destroy us from the inside.
Yeah.
well,
It's,
but
yeah.
this is why it's so much cheaper though, is they're using slave labor. Like
Yeah.
Trump's tariff deals with India and China and all this rest. That's all well and good, but why don't we just put an embargo on them till that we and tell them you either raise the pay for your employees, otherwise we're not buying your products.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's the root cause of why companies go there. They can get it made for pennies on the dollar.
And they're still
Yep.
charging us up the wazoo. So
Hmm. I mean, you think about it. We have worldwide 50,000 cargo ships in our oceans, bringing everything to and from America. 50,000.
mm,
This is why I don't like the Green New Deal. They don't want to say if we just simply bring manufacturing back to America, we could will help the environment more
Yeah,
than anything else. Taking 14 of those cargo ships out of commission in a year, those 14 cargo ships produce as much CO2 as every single car in the world.
yeah.
And we
but
have 50,000 of them floating around our oceans.
yep, somebody this was hilarious to me. It was a couple years ago, but they were going, what would really be good for these big cargo if they put some like big white things to catch the wind and they could just go across the ocean. You mean like a giant sailboat?
Well,
Oh, gee,
yeah.
Christmas. They'll all have this great green new information that works that way. Yeah, you're talking about the prescription stuff and all the different drugs, and I don't know if you've looked at it, but nearly every single person that's on the FDA approval board has all come from either Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson and Johnson. A big share of them come from brought to you by Pfizer. Yes.
It's
Uh,
regulatory capture of everything, and that's
yeah.
why we're in that. They're writing laws and regulations to protect themselves and driving up the cost.
Yep. We want you to be on the board next time. You've been on there long enough. You can come back to work for us now. And that's what they do. It's
Yep.
just a big circle.
Yeah.
I don't understand how we're allowing that to go on. Oh,
Because we have compromised people in office and they
oh
don't
yeah.
see anything wrong with it.
Because they don't serve God or even their own dignity. All they serve is the almighty dollar, and
Yep.
that's all that matters.
It's
Um,
absolutely crazy. I mean, just like what I'm wanting to do with Social Security,
I was just
that
gonna.
is the biggest Ponzi scheme the world has ever seen. And
well, and
it's
they've
just,
stolen from it some dad burned
they've,
many times. Man,
they've
that's
stolen
irritating.
from it. So get this, the average American during their lifetime pays into the system $530,000, but they only receive $450,000. So you get a negative return of investment and the government gets to keep what's left.
And they're still failing. How does that?
And they're still failing. And so here in Georgia, we're in the top 10 states of elderly going hungry every single day, 1 in 7 elderly. So what I want to do is say 40 and above, you get Social Security, but we're going to move to the fair tax. So there's no loopholes for special interest groups. It's estimated that we'll make an extra 10 to 25% more revenue. We can get every elderly person 40 and above up to the cost of living in their state. And then earmark the rest of the money to pay off our national debt. And then 40 and below, I want to say the government's going to mandate that you get an annuity at whatever insured financial institution you want. Your employer has to pay into it just like Social Security. But that same 530,000 put into an annuity will roughly be at 70 years old worth 1.5 million, the death value 1.8 million. You can dole it out in monthly checks just like Social Security. And assuming everyone lives to 90, that would be a $5,300 a month check. And your children can inherit whatever's left so we can start building generational wealth.
Yeah,
Now, doesn't that sound like a better idea?
I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, and what? There's nothing that fries my gizzard more than when they say, oh, and these entitlement programs are costing us a fortune. No, they're not. Like you said, you're supposed to be making more money than you're giving out. Where's the problem at? And you're damn right I'm entitled to it. I've been paying into it for almost 50 years. But
Yeah.
Well, like
um,
you said, it's self-funded. It should be fine. It should be fine.
Should
But
be
yeah,
fine.
every time
But
they
think
do
There,
about how this would help Congress, though. They'd have to run on a balanced budget if you take away Social Security.
true. It's true.
yeah. I heard several years ago there was I forget there was another department or something that borrowed a big chunk of bucks from Social Security, put it in the stock market, made a pile of cash, and they went, "Oh, well, we put the money back. Oh, what about the money you made? Oh, no, no, we're keeping that for us. Just the money that we borrowed, we put back. No interest, nothing. They just supposedly put it back. I'm not even buying that.
Social
So."
Security fund should not be a bank. You know, if you
No,
want to
it
get
is
that,
not your or your play money, as was USAID. There's one thing I really like, as we were talking earlier, both of us. I've got a farming background and working, hard and learning to have a work ethic when you're younger. You have stuff in there about the property tax exemption for farmers. Can you let us know a little bit about that?
So, farming and ranching, you're not making a killing anyways. And I honestly do not know how they do it. So, they should be exempt on property taxes. I couldn't imagine what some of these big ranches and farms pay each year. And they are doing a service to the community, so they shouldn't have to pay property taxes. You think about these poor ranchers with cows. I mean, I honestly don't know how they make a living. It's been a little while since I've looked at recent cow prices, but when
Oh,
you're paying
they're way up there.
12 to $1,800 for mama cow, paying $5,000 or more for that bull, and
Yeah.
then you're only getting eight to $1,200 for that calf after she's gestated a year. You've had to put minerals, you've got vaccines, you've got this, that, and the other. Like, we're nickel and diming these poor guys to death. There is just there's no way to make it really work.
now
Well, and then you got
it's
you got Bill Gates that's going and buying up property, and so it's kind of the same thing as like in a neighborhood, similar properties. Okay, well that's going for that, so now everybody's property taxes are going up, and they're going, I don't have it, and people think, you got the ranchers and the cows. I follow several auctions, by the way, so that's why I've been watching them, and the price per hundredweight it's absolutely lunacy. One guy bought a lot of what was it, 20 steers, and it was over $1 million for just 20 steers that were only 500 pounds. It's like, are you kidding? I don't know how they're doing it. Somebody's buying them. Somebody's got the money. I don't know how it's working out, but I'm with you. You're not making anything. And then you got the farmers that are out there and their equipment. Oh, they're making, look at, they got a brand new pickup every 2 or 3 years. Yeah, because they tear the living crap out of the last one they had
And
because
they
you got
don't
to use
realize
it.
how expensive tractors are. You've got to bale that hay. Those balers are $80,000 or more.
Yeah,
That
they're not
tractor is
cheap.
a $200,000 tractor.
Yeah, a moderately priced tractor is 200,000. That's not one that has the big tracks on it and it's got four wheels all the way around and articulates in the middle. Those puppies are 350, 400,000. Then you want a combine? Oh, well, that's over $500,000. And you wonder how come your wheat prices for bread goes up? It's not all the farmer either, but yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I
I get
mean, it
irritated
all
with that
costs
stuff.
money. Fuel prices go up. We also need to quit selling any foreign government entity or country land here in America. I
yeah.
think if they want a business here in America, they need to lease the land, rent it, whatever. But we need to quit selling our land, especially our farmland.
China has bought up a bunch of it the last 10 years or so. I mean,
400,000 acres or something.
yeah, something like that. It was a
Yeah.
lot. A lot
Well,
of them
Gates
around Air Force
owns
bases.
Uh, close to, he's just under 300,000 now. It's like 270, 280,000 acres. But you go look at all the property that he has, it's above all the big aquifers. What's he going to do
Mhm.
to that? Because I don't trust him any farther and I could throw him.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. I don't either. There's so much going on right now that I can't believe our government's got to this point. Like, one of my other topics that I go around speaking on is, our government should be totally for America and run for America. And that's why I'm fighting for no dual citizenship allowed in Congress. But right now we have over 100 members of Congress with dual citizenship.
No.
And
It's
You've
a
got
simple
one country to
conflict of
be
interest.
loyal to, period.
Yeah. The Bible teaches us you can't have two masters.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I think people like Ilhan Omar, I don't know whether she's one of them or not. I don't know whether she's totally American, but for the way she speaks about America, there's no way that she sees us as this is my home now. I just don't buy it. And if there's 100 of them like that, I mean, it's gotten so deep. I just don't know. You're absolutely right. We shouldn't, just like you can't be a president without being born in America. Maybe, we've been a country long enough to maybe we don't need that. Well, maybe we do need that law for Congress too. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it was illegal till 1918 to have dual citizenship and serve in Congress. And for whatever reason, they made it legal in 1918.
Yeah,
Wasn't Wilson president? Progressives were in, and they changed a lot of this stuff.
we did. Oh, he was.
Yeah, so you're going to like this idea on executive orders because to me, presidents have been abusing executive orders for far too long. Do y'all know who wrote the most executive orders and how many?
Uh, Probably. Well, Trump and Biden are got to be towards the top. That's the only thing I can think of. No.
No, it was FDR and he wrote 3,721.
That
Coolidge
was going to be
was
my
a
guess.
distant second with 1,500. So what I want to do is say, make a sunset law on all these executive orders saying that if they're not codified by Congress in 4 years, then it becomes null and void, and make it retroactive to like 1910 and say Congress has to codify all these executive orders or void them.
Now, once they're
Because
voted, though, could maybe the next group of elected idiots coming into office can't they just write new ones? Wouldn't they
they
be
could
able to
write
get a
new ones,
second?
but if Congress doesn't codify them yet again, they get nullified after 4 years. And so the beauty of this is like right now we have 425 federal agencies and over 300 of them are illegally formed either through executive order or through agencies just making up other agencies by our own laws. Congress is the only one that can make these agencies. So they'd either have to codify all these agencies or get dismantled.
On a related note, I just thought of this. The whole thing with the tariffs, I think that's going on in front of the Supreme Court, or has it already been? But if they say that Trump was over his skis when he put these tariffs in place, if they have to give refunds to all these countries, that's going to be a huge mess.
Oh yeah, we're going to add trillions of dollars to our national debt. I
Well,
mean,
it'll be worse than a recession. It'll be the big D word.
we're teetering on it now.
Yep.
I mean, just to be honest, we are teetering. 37% of Americans have been pushed from middle class into welfare,
Yep.
some sort of welfare. Um, I read a study 2 weeks ago on that, and that to me is just really atrocious.
I know
People have it.
just in order to live anymore. I mean, if you bought a house in 2019, that house in my area may cost you 165,000. You live in a halfway decent neighborhood, and it's not a fixer upper or whatever. That was what reasonable was, and then all of a sudden. During that short period of time that Uncle Joe was in office, and I blame a lot on him, but it's all the people around him that did this. But the inflation got so bad, and just precisely what you said earlier, the printing of all that money during COVID, we saw the early effects of that. But the prices have gone up to the point where that same house now in Bartow County, which we are not a rich county by any way, shape, or form, is over $300,000 now. Has doubled in price in the last 6 years. So, I mean, and I know that the demand for housing has waned quite a bit. There's about double the amount of houses for sale as people shopping for houses. So maybe that'll bring some of the prices down. But the people who had to buy houses during that time, they're over a barrel. They're in rough shape.
I was really lucky. I found my place back in 18 or 19. I can't remember for sure and bought it. But I paid 55,000 cash for it, 4 acres, half acre pond with an island, and it just has a trailer on it. And that's what I live in. I don't need any more. But the property values have went up so much. My property tax just a few years ago was when I got it was $330, I think, and now it's going to be right around 900 this year.
Gee.
And it's just ridiculous. The property value, like I said, paid 55,000 for it, and it's already going up to over 200,000.
Yeah. And it's such a short period of time.
Yeah. I
It's
mean, it's crazy. I was like, there's some wooded acreage right down the road from me, about 20 acres wooded, and it sold for $1 million. I was like, what in the heck is going on here?
Are you up by Somerville? Is that where you're at?
Below Somerville
Okay.
in Armurchie.
But it's you know, in Armurchie years ago was not anything that ever anybody, you know, if you're local to this, that wasn't anybody said, "Ooh, I'm going to make it someday. I'm going to live in Armurchie." Nobody said
There's
that. You know, I mean,
nothing here. There's nothing here.
you had the mall. I mean, that was really it. Yeah, it's just incredible how the economy has just gone so bad. And maybe the whole tariff thing will get over. It will be supported by the Supreme Court. And we won't have to deal with all that because I do believe we're heading in the right direction. I do believe the tariffs are bringing in a lot more money for the federal government. And I've always never been a proponent of the federal government getting more money because all they do is waste it anyway. So I'm kind of torn on that whole thing. I like that money is actually coming in. Maybe it'll take some of the heat off us as far as taxes and everything go. But at the same time, you know, it's everything is just so uncertain.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. And, going back to welfare, back in 2023, we spent $1.2 trillion on it. And like my namesake, Ronald Reagan said, it's not how many people you get on the system, it's how many people you get off the system.
Mhm.
All capable, able-bodied people to get that welfare check, they should have to go to an apprenticeship school or trade school to get out, learn a skill to get out of poverty. They'd be making $60,000 to $100,000, which is a lot better than what they're getting now.
Sure.
And they'd have a lot better way of life. And think about this. That's 65 million people on welfare. If they'd be making a combined income of somewhere between 3.5 and 6.5 trillion dollars that they would then be injecting back into our communities when they buy homes or go to the store
Right.
and can afford stuff. It would bolster our dollar. It would help our society so much.
Absolutely. Just even the local state tax money that they contribute to everything would get better. And you know, Charlie Kirk used to talk about this all the time, is that we have to stop subsidizing fatherless homes. You know, it's like if you and I know people that do this, that they're unmarried couple, they have a couple of kids, and the dad has a post office box somewhere, so he can claim that doesn't live in the same house, which he does, and so because he's not there in the home, according to the government, because that's all they know is that there's two different addresses here. They bolster her Medicare or the money that she gets every month. They give her a little bit more because there's no father around. And it's like the system is so easily manipulated. I think that we just need a reset on all that.
Well, and to be honest, I don't want to tell people you can't have a kid, but if you get on welfare and you're pregnant, have one kid, that's fine. But if you can't afford kid number one, you can't afford kid number two, three, and four. So why are we incentivizing that?
Yeah, it's not meant to be a raise just because you can propagate and make more little ones.
Yeah.
No. And like I said, I'm torn. Like, I don't feel it's the government's place to tell you not to have a kid. But at the same time, if you can't afford to feed what you have, why are you having more?
I mean, how do you regulate that? I mean, that seems like it's completely, and the more kids they have, the more it burdens the taxpayer. But I mean, how does that get fixed? Where does that,
Maybe a simple law stating that you don't get any more money for any additional kids you have while on the system.
yeah, you're right, because you take the incentive away, then the problem fixes itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a couple that her and her husband were essentially on welfare, and it was enough money. She go, it's enough money for us. We get by okay. Well, they're happy not having to work. And then they went, well, what are we going to do if we have to go to work? They were just beside themselves, just
Young
totally
people.
upset. Oh, but you, we've been sitting on our keister watching TV with popcorn, and now we got to go to work and
Oh,
earn this money? What? They were just having a conniption fit.
well, you get used to that. You get used to the check every month. It's like, well, this should always be. I
I
did.
mean, we're just gonna have to pull the rug out and let some people have some hard times. I think
Yeah.
our lives have been so soft and so easy the last 50 something years that I think a bunch of people are just complacent,
Yeah.
just complacent.
Yeah.
You've got some ideas on the drug cartels. We were talking about that when I talked to you a few weeks ago. Give me a little bit of a oversight on that. I don't remember exactly what you told me, but it was enough for me to make a note. So,
So that's the only place I want to send our military. We need to clean up our back door before we send our troops everywhere else. They're making too much money off human trafficking and drugs for them to stop at a wall. And if they build 30 miles worth of tunnels to get El Chapo out of prison, they're going to find a way.
right.
And so and two, everyone coming into our country will want to stay in their country when their land's not being stolen, their money's not being stolen, the women getting raped, people getting murdered from the cartels. We start cleaning that up, and people will want to stay where they're at.
Sure. And that's the drug problem is just it's not even just coming over it is coming over the southern border, but I mean, if you get to the root of that, China is making a lot of this raw materials for the fentanyl that is going to Mexico, and they're pressing them into pills or whatever they do with it, and then that's being brought over here. It's like we're just fighting on so many different fronts as far as the drug problem goes, and the human trafficking is the same way. They're not just coming from Mexico and Central America; they're coming from a lot of different places.
So
So
this one statistic blew my mind too. I do a lot of my own research, and I was having to speak at the Georgia Sheriff's Association month and a half ago. And Georgia's actually in the number 2 state for human trafficking.
oh my gosh.
And I was like, we've got to get that under control.
And look how
they're
far we are
taking
from the border.
they're taking kids out of these low income areas and sending them through the Atlanta airport.
Incredible.
They're taking them up and down 75. I mean,
This
we've
last
got to
week, they
control
just did a giant bunker buster. They found an underground thing. They saved 20 children out of it, and then they blew all these. It was miles of underground caverns and rooms and stuff. That's just, oh, yeah, yeah. Just makes my skin crawl. So that was
I
just
mean,
in the last week.
every state needs to really look into their defects too, because I think a lot of children are being trafficked through that. I mean, in 2023, I think it was Texas lost 500,000 kids. New
Mm.
York State lost 300,000 kids. You can't
How do you lose it?
accidentally lose that many kids. I understand a few kids running off, running away, but if
Not
you're
the
that
hundreds of thousands.
inept where you lose 500,000 kids, there's bigger issues.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And really, the kids when it boils right down to it, those are the people we need to protect, whether they're from here or
Mhm.
not. You shouldn't, those are the vulnerable. Those are the ones that can, you know, they can be manipulated so easy. And one thing I read too is that there are parents actually in places in Guatemala or Venezuela that parents that would sell their kids to the cartels to bring them up here for a price, and it makes their life a little bit easier. And I don't think some societies see these little people as little people. I just don't. I don't know. It's a problem in society. It's a problem in our human psyche worldwide. And I'm I don't know. They may
Yeah.
just find a workaround.
Yeah, the term, it's just a kid. Just
Ugh,
frosty. Woof.
especially
I,
when
I just don't tolerate that stuff. There's a local lawyer in Rome that works a lot with human trafficking and all of that. And he's actually set up a mission for the young girls so they can get their minds right and learn the skills to be back in society again after being trafficked. But he also goes in and does mission work for the traffickers. And I'm like, dude, your heart's better than mine. I would just go biblical, tie a millstone around their neck and throw them into the deepest depths of their ocean.
I mean,
Like, I don't care about their heart at that moment.
but I mean, those are Jesus' words. It's better off for you to have a millstone tied around your neck if you to harm one of these little ones. So no,
Yeah.
I think that's the way to go. I think if Jesus said it, then I've got no qualms about it at all. I think if you mess with a little
There's
kid,
something really wrong with you if you can look at a little kid and think that's okay.
think sexual thoughts at all. I mean,
Yeah.
there's something mentally wrong with you.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
look at them as being disposable. I don't understand that. We'll just get another one. What? You sickos?
yeah.
Ugh.
Unfortunately, that's probably been the way society's been around the world for maybe quite a while. I don't think that
Yeah.
it's anything necessarily new, but um, I had a couple of more subjects I wanted to talk to you about, but we're already at an hour now. Maybe we'll have you on again. We've got more things to talk about. You've been a great guest. We appreciate you
Yeah.
coming on here with us.
I appreciate it. I
Yeah,
try to be educated.
you certainly are. You educated me on a lot of things. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And that doesn't take much because I'm an uneducated boob. So I mean,
Yeah,
this
there just needs to be more people that if they just had something that they could look things up on, I don't know, some device that maybe they could figure something out with, you know?
maybe
I
even
mean,
in their pocket. Yeah, it might even be.
Go to reaganforgeorgia.com.
Yeah,
there you go.
in the upper right corner, there's a little donate button, so you can set up your $10 a month through that
Yeah.
button.
Yep.
But
And I appreciate it all.
I love
Everyone
this
gets a
idea.
thank you note from me.
Well, there you go, right there. But I mean, I love this idea of financing yourself through the grassroots, through people, through regular, everyday, ordinary people that can afford $10 a month. Almost everybody can afford $10 a month.
Well, and like I tell people, that I'm taking it to the next level of grassroots. We all have at least 100 cell phone contacts on our phone. Take the time, make a simple little message saying, hey, this woman's fighting for the right reasons. She needs our help. Would you consider doing $10 a month reoccurring donation? Go to www.reaganforgeorgia.com and learn more. Please pass it on. Send it all over the nation. Your friends and family will read it because it came from you rather than me paying for an SMS text that they're probably not going to open even.
Yeah, because if it comes from me, like you said, that's my friend. So I mean, he's not going to send me spam where my PayPal gets deleted or whatever.
Yeah, take the time, 15 minutes, copy and paste it while you're drinking coffee in the morning.
It's a great idea. The website again is real quick.
reaganforgeorgia.com.
Beautiful, beautiful. Reagan, you've been a great guest. Maybe as we get closer to the primary, maybe we can have you on again, and we'll cover a few extra subjects and maybe talk about your opponents in that primary. So we can do that.
Yeah, just let us know what your schedule is. We're pretty flexible.
I make it happen.
Okay. We appreciate it, ma'am. You have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.